I've been to 1 year of college. I've got a little family. But the problem was, I didn't have $2 in my pocket. Now I'm embarrassed because I wanted to buy the cookies. So I didn't want to tell her that I had no money. I didn't have $2. That's too embarrassing. So I lied to her. And I said, look, I've already bought lots of Girl Scout cookies. We've still got plenty in the house that we haven't eaten yet. She said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. And she walks away. When she left, I said to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. How low can you get lying to a Girl Scout? You can't go any lower than that. I promised myself that day that would never happen to me again. Yeah. I called it one of the days that turned my life around. This little scene with the Girl Scout. Several years later, I'm walking out of a bank in California. Outside the bank are two girls selling candy, some organization. And when I came out of the bank, the first little girl said, "Mister, would you like to buy some candy? Support our organization." I said, "I probably would. How much is it?" She said, "It's just $2. I thought, wow. So my mind went back to that Girl Scout story occasion. And I said to her, "How many boxes of that candy have you got?" She said, "I've got 5. And her little friend was standing there, and she was selling candy too. And I said, "How many boxes have you got?" She said, "I've got 4. I said, "That's 9. I'll take them all." They said, "Really?" I said, "Yes, I've got some friends, and I'll pass them around." So when I give them the money, and I take the 9 boxes of candy with me, just before I leave, that first little girl looks up at me and she says, "Mister, you are really something." What a difference from the first time to the second time. So even today, I carry plenty of money in my pocket. In case there are any Girl Scouts in the audience, I have the money. Stories. Now, here's the key. You can tell other people's stories as well as your own stories. Gather stories. We teach, especially in sales and recruiting, we teach, be a collector of stories, testimonials. Lydia's one of the best stories of the 20th century, 21st century. How to turn so little into so much. So you need to gather stories. Single mother with 2 children, no job. Someone that's lost their job, story to tell. A teenager struggling, story to tell. Story to tell. Now here's the big part of though, is to tell your own story. Use your story. Lydia was so good when she got started in telling her story. Here's why I have no product to deliver. I'm a single mother with 2 children. I found this product. I'm very interested. She explained in a very powerful way her situation using her story. Very effective. Story after story she told and worked her way up the ladder of wealth. So be effective in telling your story. Now, some stories are hard to tell right away. Sometimes you have to wait a little while. Some of those who went through the Holocaust are just now beginning to tell their story because they don't want it to be lost. They don't want their story to be lost in history. But for so many years it was too painful to tell, too painful to share. So I know some stories you can't tell immediately, but as soon as you can, use your own life as a good story, a good example. Somebody's unhappy. Say, I remember being unhappy. I remember it lasted for months, and finally I got rid of it. I remember being sad and depressed. Finally, I made a call. Finally, I read this book. Finally, I met this person who lifted me up. Your own story is so powerful. Learn to use it. One of the greatest leaders of the Christian church when it was started was a great storyteller of his own story. He says, yes, I'm a leader of Christians now, but I used to kill Christians. Now I'm the leader of Christians. I used to kill them. Wasn't that some kind of story? Say, you mean you used to kill Christians? Yes. It was my job. I had letters of authority from the government. But I was on my way to kill some Christians one day, and this great light shined out of heaven. Knocked me off my horse. Pushed my face in the dirt. Blinded me for 3 days. And then I was converted and became a Christian. Now I'm a leader of the Christians. What a dramatic story. I used to kill Christians. But then the light knocked off my horse, face in the dirt, blinded 3 days. Somebody had to lead me around for 3 days. Finally, when my blindness went away, I could see. I could see. Once I was lost, then I was found. What a great story. So you've got some drama in your story. You've got some drama where you've been, what you've been through, what's happened to you. I'm asking you to use your life as a gift to help illustrate good ideas to someone else. Use your life as a gift. Next, I've learned to use quotes, quoting other people. Sometimes I use my own quotes. Sometimes I use someone else's quotes. Today I talked about John Kennedy. I talked about Zig Ziglar. Quoting from someone else. Zig Ziglar says, my dentist told me, Zig, only floss the teeth you want to keep. Forget the rest. Very good. Quotes. The other day I was talking about don't let anybody put you down. Don't let anybody put you down. If somebody makes a silly comment, sometimes you have to make a silly comment in return. You can't give a logical answer to a silly comment. I've discovered. When I first started doing things for Herbalife, traveling the world 17, 18 years ago, someone said to me, I heard some people died using that Herbalife product. And I said, not that many. Now, that was a silly comment from me, but their silly comment deserved a silly comment back. I said, I understand, as long as the deaths are under 100 a month, they get to keep selling the product. If it goes over 100 a month, they have to come in for a review. So that was silly, right? That was silly. But the silly comment that wanted to put me down deserved not an explanation, because there was nothing to it. It was just a comment, silly. So it deserved sort of a silly answer. I don't know. I find out when someone says, this product is not going to work for me. It's not working for me. And I say, it was designed not to work for you. What do I know? What can you say? It would be too strong to say it was designed not to work for people like you. That would be a little too strong. Sometimes a little wit is helpful to get out of a certain situation. Winston Churchill was probably the best. Lady Astor in the English Parliament was so exasperated with Winston Churchill one day, she said, Winston Churchill, if you were my husband, I would put poison in your coffee. Winston Churchill said, Lady Astor, if I was your husband, I would drink it. A little bit of wit. Now, here's what's next. In good communication, and we're about to finish now and take our break. Next is straight talk. Straight talk. This means tell it like it is. Here's the truth. We all need to know the truth, because the truth sets you free. We need to know the truth about our errors. We need to know the truth about the possibilities. The promise of the future is powerful, but we also need to know the truth. That you cannot accomplish the future by affirmation. You cannot accomplish the future just by dreaming. You cannot accomplish the future by wishing. But you can accomplish the future by working, believing. That's what we call straight talk. When I first met my unique teacher, I said to him, I'm not doing well because things cost too much. He said, no, really, things don't cost too much. You just can't afford them. That was a new way to look at it. I showed him my paycheck and I said, this is all that the company pays. I can't do well. He said, no, this is all that the company pays you. I thought that was an interesting way to look at it. He says, doesn't the company pay 2, 3, 4 times this amount to other people? I said, yes. Then he said, this is not what the company pays. This is what the company pays you. And he said, if you became more valuable 2 times, 3 times, 4 times more valuable, this check would go 2, 3, 4 times. So you don't have to work on the company. You only have to work on yourself. See, that was straight talk. You don't have to change the government. You just have to change yourself. He said to me, if you will change, everything will change for you. If you will change, your health will change. If you will change, your income will change. If you will change, your future will change. See, that's the straight talk. He said, if you want more, you must become more. You don't get more by wishing. You get more by personal development. Become more valuable to the marketplace. Wow, straight talk. I was hoping if I crossed my fingers and said my prayer, that it would, kind of fall out of the sky. No. We need to really know the truth. You can have plenty, but you need to know the truth, how to get plenty. Okay. Now here's one more, and we're finished. And that's, with language, learn to challenge. Learn to give a challenge. Almost everyone responds to a good challenge. See if you can do it. See if you can work that hard and accomplish. But here's one of the best challenges. Let's go do it. Not always you go do it, but let's go do it. Let's read the books. Let's be successful. Let's attend the class. Let's develop skills we've never had before. Remember back, if just 2 or 3 agree on a common purpose, nothing's impossible. Just 2 or 3. Let's become successful. Let's build the future. Sometimes here's what the family needs to hear. Let's do this. Let's do this. Not always, yes, sometimes you've got to do this, you do this, you do this. But figure out some projects where you can say, let's do it. Let's work together. Because that's so powerful. There's so many things you cannot do by yourself. But there are so many more things you can do with someone else, with the family, with an organization. Husband and wife many times makes the greatest corporate, the greatest company success, forming their own company, just 2. But 2 becomes 10, multiplies by 10 the power. Learning to challenge. So, hopefully I've shared some good ideas on communication. We've got so many more subjects to cover. Tomorrow, we'll have to push as hard as we possibly can to get all of them in. One is time management, the best kept secret of the rich. A little formula for becoming wealthy, especially teaching it to children. Then we're going to design the next 10 years in our goals workshop. Then we're going to talk leadership, developing leadership skills in the community, in the church, leadership skills at home, leadership skills in business. And I think you'll find the subjects that are coming up very interesting, fascinating. I'm just happy that I'm here to share them all with you. So now it's time to take our little refreshment break, I think, for the next 30 minutes. Thank you very much. If I share with you as best I can all of these ideas and you take good notes, then you'll be able to teach others, pass it on, together with your own experiences. This is a good note to take. It takes more than one teacher to give us all the answers. No one teacher has all the answers, so we need a variety of voices, a variety of people, a variety of experiences to share with us all the possibilities of life, and to share with us all the things that makes for financial success, personal success, family success, business success. Because our life is economics, it's social, it's personal, it's spiritual. And we live in the community. We're part of a country. We're part of a state. And we're part of a business, an organization. We're part of a family. So there are so many aspects of life, avenues of life, that are important to us as we begin our journey as children, and then all of our lives. So I'm just one more teacher, one more voice, hopefully with some experience and some ideas that make sense. And I just want to add my part. But you've got to keep searching. You've got to keep looking, keep reading, keep up your high interest in getting ideas that can make your days go better, make your business function better, make your health stronger, make your relationships more special. All of those things are vital and important, and I want my voice, of course, to be a voice of value for all of you. And hopefully by the time we have finished yesterday, today, I'll have a good collection of things for you to ponder and things for you to think about. Okay, we're going to talk now in this morning's session about setting goals, looking into the future. So make these notes. One important thing is to look back. We talked about that yesterday. To learn from success, to learn from mistakes, what we did right, see if we can't do that even better. What we did wrong, see if we can't make the corrections and amend those errors in our judgment, and then use that useful information to plan a better day for tomorrow, a better week for next week, a better year for this year. So we've got the second half of this year to plan and think about. But what I want to talk about now is looking even beyond this year and next year, 2003. And I call this little workshop we want to do today, Designing the Next 10 Years. And of course, you've got to think even beyond 10 years, the rest of your life. Sometimes, especially when you get my age, you begin calculating, right? Another 20 years, another 30 years, maybe another 40 years. You don't really do that, you know, when you're 10 years old or 20 years old or 30 years old. But life becomes seemingly a lot more valuable when you know that at least, you know, that first half of your life is sort of finished. Now you're working on the last half. And it occurred to me some time ago that I was working on the last half of my life, and the first half had been finished. So life becomes more precious, more valuable, and so it's even more important to set our objectives and our goals for the future and see if we can't create as much success as possible. Okay? So here's the note to make. Success is the name of the game. To make a success of our health, to make a success of our marriage, to make a success of our friendships, of course, to make a success of our career, to make a success of our business, to be a successful citizen of the country, to make a success of our influence, helping other people to succeed, wanting to be the best influence possible for our children, our family, to be a positive influence for our friends, make a positive contribution to our church, our spirituality. With all of that in mind that we would like to accomplish over the next 10 years on out to the rest of our lives, taking time like this today, I think is very, very valuable. And so goal setting really changed the course of my life when I learned how to do it at age 25. I got so excited when I first heard about setting goals that I immediately ran to Charlie Garrett, one of my friends. And I said, Charlie, look what I've found. Look what I've discovered. I've started making a list of my goals. Why don't you make a list? Let's do it together. And as I recall that incident now, that was probably my first seminar. I really didn't class it as a seminar or a speech or a lecture. But the minute I heard that your life could be really changed by setting goals, deciding what you want, and spending some time on it, that it could make an incredible difference in your future. I was so excited I had to go tell somebody. So this was not a formal seminar. This was just a breakfast meeting with Charlie Garrett. And I said, Charlie, look what I found. Look what I found. I'm positive this is going to change my life. I think it'll change your life too. Why don't you do what I'm doing? And that was my first time to really express what I had learned, starting to express it with someone else. Charlie Garrett. I'll never forget. So anyway, when I first met my major teacher, Mr. Earl Schoaf, when I was 25 years old, we hadn't been acquainted very long when he said, why don't you today show me a list of your current goals? And he said, let's go over them and talk about them. He said, I've got some experience, and maybe my experience will help you with your list of goals. And I said to him, I don't have a list. And it suddenly occurred to me that, I was in trouble here. I didn't have a list of my goals. I think I had some things in my head, but I had never made any kind of a list. And here's what my teacher said. Mr. Rohn, if you don't have a current list of your goals, he said, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s. Which he did. And that got my attention. I said, you mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals? He said, drastically. So you can imagine that got my attention. And from that day until today, a major part of my attention has been towards setting goals, creating objectives, seeing if I couldn't figure out ways to achieve the things that would be meaningful to myself, my family, my life, and my future. So, with that incident of someone assuring me that my present situation was largely determined by whether or not I had set goals in the past, and the reason I was lacking the money in the bank, the reason I was lacking the income I wanted, a big reason why I was lacking what I thought would have made my life a lot better, was simply because I was careless and really hadn't learned the art and the study of setting goals. So let's get started on this exercise and this workshop. I'd like to have you make this list. We're affected primarily by 5 things. Number 1, we're affected by the environment. The environment around us, the political environment, the social environment, the physical environment. Los Angeles, where I live, Beverly Hills, we're affected by the smog, the traffic. Good idea to keep in mind the environment. Do what you can to make it better. I was behind someone leaving the airport day before yesterday, and the person in front of me opened it, rolled down their window and threw some trash out the window. I thought, wow, this is a person that doesn't have any mother. Because my mother would never have tolerated that, right? You keep your trash. My mother taught me, even if you are going to have a little stick of chewing gum and you have the wrapper, you don't throw it down. You put it in your pocket, and when you get home, then you dispose of it. Or if there's a trash receptacle somewhere, you put it in there. But you never discard it on the street or the sidewalk or in the airport or throw it out the window. So little things like this, picking up a piece of trash. If everybody picked up a little piece of trash when it was easy to do so, what a difference it would make in the environment of the countryside, the city. So, little things about the environment. My mother taught me to turn out the lights when I checked out of my hotel room. Sure, you could leave the lights on, And there's no law that says you must turn out the lights, but why not? Save a little electricity. You say, well, the hotel gets the benefit. It doesn't matter who gets the benefit. If everybody did it, probably the price of our electricity would go down. Just think of little things like that. Before you leave the room, turn out all the lights. Something easy to do, not difficult. It doesn't cost any money. Just make this note, all it costs is a little attention. Being careful instead of careless. And those are two good words. Be careful instead of careless. And we can make a difference everywhere we go. Just little things that we can think of to make a contribution. Whether anyone sees it or not, whether you get any praise for it or not, doesn't matter. Here's what really matters. How you feel about yourself. That's what really matters. We do things to make ourselves feel good. We do things to give ourselves the dignity we want. Whether anyone else says congratulations or not, we know we congratulate ourselves for making a contribution, little things you can think of to help the environment. Next, we're affected by events, national events, international events. September 11th, right? We'll always remember, especially in America. But in the World Trade Center, there were people from nations all over the world. So it wasn't just American citizens that were lost in the attack on the World Trade Center. It was citizens from 40 or 50 countries. So those events affect us all. The events of the last century affected us all. World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War. Wars affect us all, either directly or indirectly. Then personal events, a death in the family, something tragic that might happen. Events around us, events long distance. The missile crisis. Most of the young people here are a bit too young to remember the missile crisis back in the 60s. Khrushchev had his missiles in Cuba. And Kennedy and Khrushchev have this conversation. Got to take the missiles out of Cuba. And we were worried for a while that there might be an atomic war. And finally, the issue was settled. The missiles were shipped back home. The world breathed a little easier. Events that affect us all. Next, we're affected by results. Whatever results we've accomplished up until now, or lack of results, affects our life, affects our health. Two things that are important, what you do and what you don't do. My mother, who taught nutrition, primarily taught it's not so much what we eat that affects us, it's what we don't eat. It's not what we get, it's what we don't get. It's the lack of nutritional elements. So we're affected by that. Then we're affected by positive results, the things we've accomplished in the past, whether it was as a child or later in life. Our business results, our career results, where we are at the moment. Next, we're affected by knowledge. What you know has affected you. What you haven't learned has had an effect on your life. The book you didn't read didn't help. What you failed to learn didn't make a contribution. We learn that ignorance is not bliss. What you don't know will hurt you. What you don't know could hurt your health. What you don't know could hurt your future. So we're affected by knowledge. Here's number 5. We're affected by the future. We're primarily affected by our concept of the future. what we think the future is going to be. Now, part of it is the future of the world. We're all concerned about that. We're concerned about the future of our country. Is Mexico headed in the right direction? Politically, socially, economically? Are the leaders of our country making wise decisions so that as individuals and with our families, our children, our grandchildren can count on the wise decision of the leaders of the country so that Mexico is going somewhere, ready for competition, ready to handle the challenges of the 21st century? Is our country ready to cash in on the opportunities of the 21st century and not be left behind? We're all concerned about that. Our country, our church, our community. But most of all, we're affected by the vision of our personal future. Where will I be 3 years from now? What will I be doing? Who will I be with? What will I have accomplished 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Am I on track for the security I want? For myself and for my family? Our dreams for the future. It's true we must look back for experience, but we must also look forward for inspiration. Because guess where we're going? We're not going back. We are going forward. And here's the key to the future: to have it well planned. To have plenty of reasons for getting up early, working a good day, paying attention to skills, disciplines, step by step, trying to reach your goals. All of this is so important. Our dream of the future, our vision of what we want to accomplish, the more clear that becomes, the more we can take certain steps. If the vision is not clear, it's like being in a dark room. You don't walk fast in a dark room. You walk rather slow, sort of feeling your way along. But if the light is on and it's bright, then we take more confident steps. So just make that note. The clearer the future is, the stronger the steps we take to make sure it happens. If the future's uncertain, our personal future is uncertain, then we take hesitant steps, we take smaller steps. But if we've got reasons, family reasons, personal reasons, social reasons, economic reasons for doing well, then we take more confident, larger steps to achieve what we want. And my teacher said this: if you have enough reasons, you can do anything. If you have enough reasons, you'll read all the books. If you have enough reasons, you'll attend all the classes. If you have enough reasons, you'll put yourself through the disciplines. If you had enough reasons, you'll find the information. What if you had to be rich? What if you had to be rich? Are there books on the subject, how to get rich? The answer is yes. There's plenty of books on how to get rich, but if you don't need to be rich, then why read the books? Why bother? Why go to the library? If you don't have to be rich, there's no use putting yourself through the drama of learning and acting and working on disciplines if you don't need to be wealthy. But if you need to be healthy, if you need to be wealthy to do all the things you want to do, right? If you need to succeed, there are plenty of ways to succeed. There's plenty to learn. There's plenty of books. There's plenty of classes. There's all kinds of things you can personally do. But what drives us to do the things we can do is enough reasons. Powerful reasons. Now, some reasons are necessity. In order to survive, we have to do some things to survive. But I would like to concentrate now more on reasons to succeed. I don't think any of us in this room, having reached this far in our life of maturity and personal security, I don't think we're worried here about survival. But what we do need to be really looking at is how much can I succeed? How far can I go? How much can I do in the time that's allotted to me for the rest of my life? So that's what we want to concentrate on. Looking into the future. Setting goals that will pull us in that direction. So this is a good note to make. Goals become like magnets. Goals are like magnets. They have the force to pull. And if you set a goal out there, and if it's strong enough and powerful enough, that goal will pull you in that direction. The reason why some find it difficult to get up in the morning, they don't have the zest, they don't have the excitement, they're not excited about going to work and doing the job and paying attention and learning and striving, is simply because the goal is not strong enough to pull them in that direction. If you think too much about the past, just to keep rehearsing your past losses and past failures, that means the past is pulling you back. So now what we need to do is to counter that by setting goals that will pull us to the future. Also, goals help us to set our face in a certain direction. We go the direction we face. If we turn from things we're not that happy with, and we start looking toward things that would make us more happy, more successful, we need those things now bright and clear and powerful so that they will attract our attention and begin to pull us in that direction. And then here's the last one. Direction determines destination. Your present direction is taking you somewhere. And the big question is where? And you cannot hope to go to some place, right, going in the opposite direction. We would consider the man foolish who is walking south hoping he will arrive north. The only way to arrive north is to go north. You can't go south with your fingers crossed. So many people hope for the better things, but the direction they're going is in the wrong direction. The direction of lack of discipline, the direction of lack of skills, the direction of lack of information. They hope they can arrive at a better place, but their actions, their direction is taking them somewhere else. So the clearer we can make these goals, the more exciting it'll be. Now here's the next key. Make sure that the greatest pull in your life is the pull of the future. Not the pull of distractions, not the pull of the past, but that the greatest pull is the pull of the future. So now we're going to do a little workshop to see if we can't come up with enough reasons, long enough list of things that can get us excited about the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I think that you'll find this very, very interesting. So now I want you to get a fresh piece of paper and at the top put workshop. Workshop. And in this workshop I'm going to ask a series of questions. Then we'll take time for you to respond to those questions and come up with the answer. and do the exercise. So what I want you to do is write the question down, because you may want to teach this to others, right? Not just use this for yourself. I want you to use this for yourself for sure, but then I want you to be able to use this as a model so that you can teach other people. You can have a class, you can do a seminar, or you can do this with your family. So I want you to get the model of the workshop down so that you can use it not only for yourself, but to pass it on to someone else. So now here's the first question in this exercise. The question is, what 5 things have you already accomplished that you're proud of? What 5 things have you already accomplished that you're proud of? So write that question down, and then I want you to make a list of what you think are 5 things you've already accomplished in your life that you're proud of. And I'm sure if we had a chance to go through each person's list, we would find some incredible accomplishments right here in this room. So make that list now. 5 things you have already accomplished that you're proud of. I graduated 3rd in my high school class. I remember writing that, and I was proud of that. 3rd. Now, if there's only 3 in the class, it's not that good. Out of, I think, 140 in my graduating class, I was 3rd. That was good. So what 5 things have you already accomplished that you're proud of? This is to give ourselves credit, because we've all set goals, whether it's been haphazardly or, spontaneously. We've set goals as children, older. So we've all accomplished things by setting goals. Now we want to learn to do it deliberately, precisely, so that you can accomplish even more. Okay, that's the first question. What 5 things have you already accomplished that you're proud of? Now here's the second question. So jot this question down. What do you want in the next 10 years? What do you want in the next 10 years? And in response to this question, I want you to make a list of everything you can think of that would make your life incredibly exciting, that would be the finest life you could imagine over the next 10 years if you could accomplish this list. And that's the list I want you to make. And I want you to put each item one under the other. Okay. Not side by side, but each item of something you'd like to have, you'd like to accomplish, you'd like to go see. I want you to make this list right down the page, okay, one underneath the other. And I want you to go just as fast as you can. Now, make this note. This list is not what you think you can accomplish necessarily, it's what you would really like to have. I would like to have you just start doing some dreaming. What would really make your life incredible, right? And just one under the other, make this list, item after item. A list of the people you want to meet. A list of the skills you'd like to learn. A list of the places you'd like to go. Education for your children, just everything you can think of. Over the next 10 years, it would give you an incredible life. What would that list be? Your income goals over the next 10 years. You know, a cabin in the mountains. A beach house. Everything you can think of. Remember, this list is not what you think you can get. This list is what you want. Okay? What would make your life incredibly happy? Satisfaction. Make that list. The places you want to go. I still have countries I haven't been to yet. They're on my list. Egypt. I haven't been to Egypt. The experiences you'd like to have, make a list of those. Parachute out of an airplane. Play in a rock and roll band. Whatever. Star in a movie. Write a book. Bound to be some authors here. What books would you like to write? My granddaughter, who wrote this book of poems, is now writing short stories for children. Maybe you want to learn to play a musical instrument. Learn another language. Make a list of your benevolent goals, gifts you wish to give, projects you wish to support. One of Mark Hughes' goals was the Family Foundation and helping kids with drug problems. He gave millions. When I met him, it was impossible. But it was one of his reasons for being successful, so he could give great sums of millions of dollars. So what are your goals for giving, sharing? Some skills you'd like to learn, some classes you need to take. One of my goals is to have the best library anybody could have, a collection of books. On my farm, I have a collection of 2,000 books on my farm. Maybe you'd like to be a teacher, give seminars, do training, inspire other people. The next 10 years. Now, some of your goals need to be the next week, this month, this year, spread over the next 10 years. From now till 10 years from now. Everything you can think of, little things, major things, upstairs made, downstairs made, a cook, a chauffeur. A new wardrobe. A ranch in Montana, in America. A penthouse in New York. Everything you can think of over the next 10 years. A little revenge for the next 10 years. Someone who said you couldn't do it. Got something to prove. Family goals. We have personal goals and we have family goals, together goals. Husband and wife goals. Each have goals and then together. Each, then together. Now, some goals that are very private, put it in code so nobody could figure it out if they saw this list. Okay, does anybody have 50 yet? 50 items? I want you to keep making this list. Little things, big things, anything you can think of. We need a list of about 50 items. See, kids wouldn't have this kind of problem, coming up with 50. By now, they'd be asking for extra paper. Adults, get stuck. What do I really want? Personal development goals, the person you'd like to become, a leader, manager, executive, entrepreneur, business for yourself. One of my goals was to have my own wine label. I make wine on my farm up in Idaho. The best Chardonnay, 97, 98. Wow, fantastic. In fact, I just thought about that. I put a sample of the label of my own wine that I make in Idaho. Chardonnay, 97. Incredible. So I'm sure you've got some goals like this. What would you like to accomplish? Someday you've got to see the Mona Lisa, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the pyramids in Egypt, an Arizona sunset. I'm now looking for a condominium or a little cottage in Carmel, California. Monterey, Carmel, Salinas. Beautiful area. I wrote my first book there. I love the village life where you don't need a car. You walk to church, and you walk to lunch, and you walk to the library, and you walk to town, and you walk to the beach. Carmel, California. Then that will complete one of my goals, to have a residence in each season. A home in each season. I have a home in Arizona, my farm in Idaho, I live in Beverly Hills, and the last one now is the condominium in Carmel. That will give me a residence for each season. So, what are your goals? Thank you. Okay. A big one now could be education for your children, college. One of my goals was to provide for my 2 grandchildren especially their education for the future, which is going to be pretty expensive. Okay. How many of you have 50 items? How many have 50? 25. Wow. Gotta think of something else here. Don't you want to learn to play the accordion? Play the guitar? Don't you want to take voice lessons? My father wanted to be an opera singer. Caruso. He was intrigued with Caruso. He wanted to be an opera singer. And he took a few lessons, but he never did continue. One thing he taught me, though, in taking lessons to be an opera singer, was how to breathe. How to breathe. I learned that. So that when I finish lecturing all day, my voice is not, my throat's not sore. My stomach muscles are sore. Isn't that interesting? Some who haven't learned that, when they lecture, their voice gets sore. Their throat gets sore because they talk from here. But I've learned to speak from my stomach muscles. So when I finish like lecturing all day today, my stomach muscles will be a little sore. Not my throat, but my stomach muscles. Little tricks of the trade. Okay, here's what I want you now to do with this list. The next exercise is to look at each item on your list and give it a number. The number will be a 1, a 3, a 5, or a 10. A 1, a 3, a 5, or a 10. And here's what this means. Look at one of the items, starting with the first one, and go right down the list and say, this will probably take about 1 year, this would take about 3 years, this would take 5 years, this would take 10 years. Look at each item and give it a 1, 3, 5, or 10 in the time you think you can accomplish it. I think this is a 10-year goal. I think this that I wrote down is a 5-year goal. This one is 3, this one is 1. So just go right down the list now and give each item a number. A 1, a 3, a 5, or a 10. Speaking of years. And you can add some more to your list as well. One, 3, 5, 10. Yes, approximately. If it's more than 10, just call it 10. It's okay, but not necessary. 7 is closer to 5 than 10. Okay. Just for the purpose of this exercise. Because it's approximate. This is about a 5-year goal. This is a 3-year goal. Fine. That's good. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many goals in 1 year. You could have 10, because we're going to calculate now how many of each you have. So give each item a 1, 3, 5, or 10. Then when you've finished, make a little calculation. How many 1s, how many 3s, how many 5s, how many 10s? Just go through and count them. How many of them did you mark 1? How many did you mark 3, 5, and 10? Fantastic. I'm going to ask someone in the center here, someone volunteer your calculation list. How many ones, threes, fives, and tens? Anybody volunteer? Okay. How many ones? 12 ones. How many threes? How many? 14? Fives? 6 fives? 10? 1. Thank you. Now that's good information. How many of you did not have any 10-year goals? That's good. See, with only one 10-year goal, it means you're not thinking very far into the future. So now you say, I need some more 10, 11, 12, 15-year goals. But that's a pretty good balance. Okay. But that gives you an indication now that whether you're thinking more short-term, and you should start thinking of setting some goals longer term. Okay. Because once goals are finished, you need to now have some more goals.